What's up, my fellow creators? Welcome, guys. I hope you're having a beautifully, phenomenally blessed day. Thank you for joining me for a moment in Becky's House of Cards. Today we are going down the rabbit hole with how can I bring more patience into my life collective message. Please like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel down below, set that notification bell so you always know when the next video does go live. Knowing that that is a free way to support the channel as well as to connect me with you energetically to get you guys out more resonating messages. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel further, getting a personal reading, that will always be linked down below in the description box. I just want to thank you to anyone and everyone who has liked, shared, commented, subscribed, who has gotten a personal reading, is thinking about getting a personal reading, who has donated or is thinking about donating. You guys are amazing and awesome. I want to send a shout out to my OGs, my new Gs, and anybody that allows me your most precious asset, your time. As always, it's an honor, a blessing, a privilege being here, giving you guys these messages. And my prayer, as always, is that any of the videos of mine that you happen to watch fall upon your heart in a way that remind you to use your intuition, to use your discernment, to take back your power, and to make the decisions that serve your highest journey in this here, now, here moment. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Source, for my collective here, how can they bring more patience into their life? Do they need to know? What messages can you tell them, Source, in regards to how they can bring more patience into their lives? What messages do you have for my collective and how can they bring more patience into their life, Source? Okay, what messages do you have for the collective and how they can bring more patience into their lives? Sorry about my dogs, guys. What messages do you have for the collective and how they can bring more patience into their lives? Okay. Let's get into it, guys. One more here. What messages do you have for the collective and how they can bring more patience into their lives? Hold on just a second, guys. Alright, guys. They're excited right now. So, let's see what's going on. Source, what messages do you have for the collective and how they can bring more patience into their lives? Ooh, okay. What messages do you have for the collective and how they can bring more patience into their lives? How can the collective bring more patience into their lives? All right. How can the collective bring more patience into their lives? How can the collective bring more patience into their lives, Source? How can the collective bring more patience into their lives? All right. That makes sense. I got you. All right. On the bottom of the deck, we have the House of God in the reverse with the Page of Wands and the upright and the Page of Coins in the reverse with Death reversed. Okay, yeah, so there's a fear of transformation here. For you guys, there's a fear of transformation. So you guys, if you allow the transformation to happen and cut out the illusions in your life, basically that's blaming everything and everyone for what's going on in your life. That's a huge illusion that you guys are struggling to deal with right now. And that's what's keeping you in a state of not having patience when it comes to things that are going on in your current reality, right? So it's like once you guys deal with it, you'll be able to let that emotional side of the ego die. And that's when spirit will come in and really allow you to move forward on the journey and take action towards that. With the Page of Wands being the only one in the upright here, it's saying you have to take action towards this, even though it's a new beginning, or it's like you feel like it's new to you, like it's just like, I don't really know what I'm doing because it's so new, right? And the thing is that you guys are afraid. It's like you're being impractical right now, okay? And don't be angry about it. This is just your emotional ego coming in. It's like Source is trying to point out why you guys are having a hard time dealing with patience right now with the Virgo full moon that we have coming up soon. You guys, it's all about bringing in more patience to your life. So I felt like this was a very fitting reading to do for the collective because it's like, what's going on collectively? Well, collectively, we have this impracticality that's coming through. In other words, wanting to take action on blaming everybody else for where you're at currently in your own life when the only person that got you there is you. Right? Yes, there are other people playing factors in our lives. Yes, there's things that are outside of our control that we can't control. But ultimately, you're the one that has free will. And you're the one that can make the decisions for you. So it's nobody else's fault. It's you having to take action and realize that it's the more you blame others, the more you're going to have instances that come into your life that make you feel like you have to blame others. Rather than saying, okay, this isn't something I can necessarily solve, so what can I do about myself, right? So let's see what your reading says. We have the 8 of Coins reversed, we have the 5 of Swords in the upright, and we have the Emperor in the reverse. There's some brutal energy coming from within. I feel like you guys are really beating yourselves up about where you're at. And like the Emperor is more about somebody that's a manipulator. So it's like, it's almost like using this as an excuse to manipulate yourself. Okay. With this 5 of Swords here in the center, Source is really highlighting here how this is a mindset that you guys are embodying right now. And with the 8 of Coins starting the reading, it could be in regards to a financial situation. However, I am getting more that this is a karmic situation coming through, and you guys are afraid to step outside of the box with this. Again, the 8 of Cups, or the 8 of Coins when it's in the reverse, it's like not wanting to color outside the lines. But it's when we're encouraged to color outside of the lines that we can begin to make new pictures and we can begin to see new landscapes, right? Rather, it's like building things on a crumbling foundation here. And the crumbling foundation is believing that you're the victim. So your patience is getting tested constantly because it's a trigger, right? It's a trigger in making you think that, oh, I'm always the one that's on the receiving end and nothing ever works out for me and everything always falls apart. Well, instead of focusing on that, can you focus on what is going right? And that will help you guys cut out the negativity that you currently have in your mindset, right? And there's a lot of anger that's coming with this too. It's almost like when something happens outside of your control, it boils out in anger and brutality. And that is actually keeping you guys from really dealing with the root of the problem. And I feel like the root of the problem comes from very early childhood, or maybe you guys weren't that stable in early childhood, or maybe there was a lot of moving around in your early childhood, or maybe you guys had to deal with a lot of different instances in your early, where you were competing with siblings, right? You could have competed with siblings. You could have had a competition with parents. You could have had this energy where it's always like, felt like you got the short end of the stick. And rather than focusing on that side of it, it's rather coming into a place of owning your power. You know, with you having the Emperor, it's a good energy to have, even if it's in the reverse, regardless of how ugly he can be. You also have an opportunity to change things in the bat of an eye and say, I choose to empower myself and I choose to come up into a place of stability. So how can you bring more patience into your life? It's starting to work on, you know, like when the 8 of Coins is in the upright, it's talking about the hard work that we put forth for ourselves and the things that we enjoy and the luxuries in life that we want. And right now, it's like it's in the reverse. It's like you don't want to put the work forth. But if you guys choose to put the work on yourself rather than blaming everybody, right? This is putting the blame on everybody else. This is you guys choosing to work for yourselves. And so if you choose to work for yourselves, you guys will see a new positive light in your journey. But there's a lot of introspective work that needs to be done here that's taunting. This is a very taunting energy here. This is very scary. It's almost overwhelming. Okay? But it doesn't mean it's not worth it. There's a lot of overcoming this and transformation that's waiting right at the brink of your fingers, basically. This could come from journaling and talking about how when you were a child, you know, journaling about how you felt when you were a child, maybe that you were in competition with your siblings, writing that out and writing it all out, what you felt, why you felt that way, like how it seemed to you. This may not seem like a big deal because you're like, I've already talked about that. Yeah, but complaining about it and writing it down are two different things. And this was something I had to learn on my own journey. It was like I would talk about it to everybody, how I felt like I was always the black sheep of the family, until finally one day I was like, you know what? Let me journal about it. And it was when I started to journal about it, I started unraveling all that yarn that had been knotted up and tied up into a crazy ass ball. And I was able to get beyond that. Okay, hold on just a second, guys. There's something about when the yarn gets knotted like that we think that if we keep pulling on it that it's going to straighten out, but it doesn't. It just gets tighter and worse and even more tangled. It actually takes us taking the time to pull it apart, where we'll actually be able to unravel it and allow ourselves to see the truth about ourselves and the line that we've lived on, right? Like it shows me this linear line. When you pull a yarn out like that, it's also linear. And you can move it any one way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean it's always going to be straight. Sometimes it lands and it's in a hill, or it's like this, or it's curvy and wavy. But it takes you taking the time to figure out yourself here and finding the stability within yourself in order for you guys to understand where it is that you're at and where it is that you're lacking patience. Okay, and I feel like really honestly, there's a lot of triggers that continue to arise in your life right now that play on your emotions, right? Playing with my money, it's like playing with my emotions. Like, you guys are getting triggered by other people, and those triggers are your key. That's the key to your success. So when you get a trigger like that, instead of reacting, can you respond? Can you recognize that this emotion is being created by something outside of your control, and can you calm yourself down? And as you guys practice this, you will actually expand your consciousness and allow yourselves to see from a much bigger perspective, however you want to look at it, right? Wow. Okay, so I'm going to take this top one. So we have number 6 with 15 coming out, right? So 15, 1 plus 5 is 6. So 6 is all about balance and harmony, seeing your guys' selves through the eyes of the divine, which is unconditional love. And it says practice compassion, seeing things from a fresh perspective. I can't make this up, guys. Isn't that what I just said before this card came out? Seeing things from a new perspective, a new point, a new way. Perception. Your perception is everything. The way you perceive the world is everything. We have control over how we perceive things, though, and we don't often always know that. On the bottom, we have number 4 coming out again. So 4 is a very powerful number for you. It's all about stability and balance and your protection. You are protected. It says you are limitless. You can do anything you choose. Exactly what I was saying. Like, you have control over the way you choose to see the world. Are you going to choose to see it from a higher perspective of compassion and love, rather than blaming others for your misfortunes and misgivings, and realize that you can change it? If you don't like where you're at or the life that you've lived, you can change that right now. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you guys take the time to build on it, you guys are going to see success over time. And you're going to know a different way of life over time. On the bottom, yeah, being vulnerable. You guys have a huge issue with being vulnerable and opening yourselves up. It's scary. Of course it's scary. It's scary to reveal yourself to people, the side of you that you've spent so long hiding. But you have to understand that's where your radiance lies at, right? That's where you guys shine the brightest, is when you guys are allowing yourselves to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable means that you take accountability for yourself and your own actions. It's not something that a lot of people like to do. You know, there's everybody and then there's you. Are you going to be everybody, or are you going to be you? And that's a valid question to ask yourself on this journey. It's hard, right? It's hard. The steps are simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. Faith makes things possible, not easy. Can you have faith in the process? Can you trust this process? I love this. We have number 11, which is all about spiritual growth and doing what you know you need to do. We have power and deer. And look at this beautiful moon here, talking about connecting with your inner emotions. And I love how it's sitting on top of her head within these antlers. It's like showing that you guys can make a choice to look at the dark side. You know, the moon is all about the darkness and the deep subconscious energy that we have. And deer is all about patience and silent power and vulnerabilities too, right? Like, and so it's like, if you guys find the patience to be vulnerable with yourself and to be honest with yourself and to embody and embrace those deep, dark emotions and let them come out, like feel them, not to project them, but to feel them. Be with yourself. Journal about why you feel that way. Journal about what's going on within. You guys are going to find a silent power within that's going to be unstoppable. And that's a beautiful thing. And with it being number 11, showing that you guys will have a spiritual awakening in regards to that. And you guys will find a deep wisdom if you begin to practice rituals with yourself. We have 4 coming out again. Owl, wisdom. This is ancient wisdom, knowledge coming through. You guys are going to open yourselves up to things you might not have been able to see before. So how can you bring more patience? And this is really, truly dealing with a deeper aspect of yourself and not being afraid to look into those dark crevices that, you know, you've shied away from for so long. You know, the only way to overcome the darkness is by becoming the light. It's not about shining your light there. It's about becoming the light in that place. So it's like taking that worst part of yourself and saying, you know what, that's still a part of me and it still deserves love. That's what seeing yourself from a higher place is. That's what seeing yourself from source love is. Unconditional love. You're not being judged by source. You're being judged by humans. You're not being judged by source. You're being judged by yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? Source doesn't judge us. Like, that's a human concept. Source is all accepting, all unconditional love, all encompassing. No matter what you do, where you go, source loves you the same. How can you find balance and come into a self-love like that for yourself? How can you always love yourself through the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly? That's what this is saying. That's how you're going to bring more patience into yourself. And it starts with you guys actually facing the things that you don't want to face, right? With the House of God in the reverse, it talks about running away from. This is like a lot of people say preventing a tower moment, right? But it's not. This is literally running away from what is inevitable. Because the longer you run, it's like pulling a rubber band. The further back you pull it, eventually two things are going to happen. It's going to snap, or you're going to let it go, and it's going to have so much power when it comes back, it's just going to knock you on your ass. So stop running in the other direction, because that's either breakdown, or you guys are going to be so overwhelmed when those emotions do finally arise, rather than you guys facing it and taking it head on. You can't be afraid of what you face, right? There are no ghosts when you face it. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that this helps. I'm sending you out so much light and love. You guys are actually doing an amazing job. Even if it doesn't feel like it, you really are doing an amazing job. This is just how you bring more patience into your life, okay? So that being said, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel down below, set that notification bell so you always know when the next video does go live. And until next time, go forth boldly, my fellow creators, and courageously find creative ways to rise above in life, laughter, and love. Until we meet each other again, mwah. Peace out. I love y'all. Bye.